You've done voice dialogue directing too, or is that is directing dialogue a different skill? Because it's almost like you have to be a director of actors.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing that off and on my entire career. We did it at NovaLogic. I wasn't originally directing, but I sat in on sessions. I watched how it was done, and I started doing it. And I mean, I took acting classes when I was a kid. That sort of informs me a bit. I actually took acting classes during lockdown 5 years ago. There was a local acting thing that they had. I was so bored being at home all the time, and I was like, you know what? Because I've done more acting or more voice directing, and I've done a bit of acting in games too. Sometimes when I work on them, sometimes I'll temp my voice in, and then the team thinks it sounds pretty good, and then it stays in. But yeah, I thought taking another acting class would help inform the perspective. Even if I'm directing, when I know more about what an actor thinks like and what they're expecting and what they're up to when they're trying to perform, the better.
Sure.
But so other than recording my own voice and directing actors at NovaLogic, when I was at Sony, we had separate people. They're literally like sound designers, and then there was dialogue coordinator was another role there. I'm not sure how they're structured now. I think things changed a little bit. But yeah, I mean, at the AAA level, you definitely need people who are dedicated to dialogue production, because it's just there's so many stages to it. There's finding the actors, casting, negotiating the business side with the actors, which hopefully you don't have to get into if you're doing that, and then the actual production, getting them into the studio, directing them, make sure that they get enough information about the character, which one of the things I do a lot with teams when they want voices is I end up showing them what the best way to, especially like indie games, like it's kind of like the thing about the lore behind what's the sound of this thing. I need to understand. That's the same thing with characters that need voices in games. Like, who is this person? Like, how old are they? Do they have an accent? Where are they from? And then what's their motivation in the line they're saying? If it's a particular scene in the game, the more information you get about the character, that gives the actor something to go on creatively when they're going to be that character. And but yeah, the point that really I think might have supercharged me a little bit in terms of voices for games was going back and working at Naughty Dog. I'd worked there for a little more than a year, because I was there for Uncharted, the first Uncharted, and then but doing sound effects, sound design and implementation, and Uncharted 2. And I was talking to them about a sound designer role they had just as they were ramping up on Uncharted 4. And I knew pretty much everybody there in the sound department. And anyway, I went in to talk to them about that job, and they're like, well, hey, actually, so our dialogue coordinator just left, and we need somebody to do that. And I think because they knew me already, they just kind of, that was, at Naughty Dog, that's an important job to do that. So I ended up doing that. I thought, if I'm going to do dialogue, what better place than Naughty Dog? So so I was there for about a year at the beginning of Uncharted 4, and got to sit in on a lot of the motion capture, performance capture sessions, and then ADR sessions we do, because we'd record them while they're doing mocap, and then there'd also be a lot of ADR, which is in the booth. And there's lots of work preparing scripts with that thing. There's a lot of the pipeline has to do with the actual lines written down, and they go through various stages. When you record, the actor has the script there. As you're recording, I wasn't directing those. We'd have there's people who are actual voice directors at that level, and so they would show up and direct the session. And when the actor would try the line a few times, and we'd pick takes, and so you mark which take you're going to use, and the director calls those out, and somebody's writing them down. It's a big team when you do that kind of recording. It's like 3 people in the booth sometimes even more. And then you go back and edit that stuff, and I would do all the editing, take all the takes, and get those files. And we had this crazy server-based system to deal with the dialogue that was kind of cool, because it would automate part of the process of implementing the lines. But then the lines get playing in the game, and then there's mastering. There's sound engineering to make the voice sound good. There's all this cleanup you have to do. There's clicks and pops and noises that people's mouths make that you hear when you use a really nice microphone that you don't hear right now from me. But if you had a really super accurate and sensitive condenser mic on me, you hear more of what's going on inside my mouth when I talk.
Yeah.
So you need to clean that up.